Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. In this video we are going to learn about how to use multiple user authentication cards and login throttling in Laravel. So I have created a brand new project and here I have created a login form. Initially we are going to start with a simple login form. So here there is an email address and password. In my database I have within the users table I have created two users of different email. Now I will create a route and give it a name as login verify. Now coming up to my routes page, I will create a login landing page. Okay. The first thing I have to do is I will create a controller. So I will navigate to my project. So here Artisan make controller login controller. So now our controller has been created here. So here I will use a login controller class and pass index and give it a name as name to the route as login. The next thing is I will create a post method that will verify the form submission and I will give it the name as login / verify and the method name will be verify. So I will copy this route name and paste here. So now within the login controller I have to create an index and verify method function. So in this method I will return login page and the next thing I will do is I will do a verify. So I will DD this request dot all. Okay. So now I'll go back to my page, refresh it and go to login controller. You can see I have a email and password. I have a form. I go back to this. So now I will add the email from this. I will take a first one and the password is the same. So I will click on submit button. So now you can see that there is a email and password. So Laravel provides two types of authentication. One is session based and another one is token based. So in this video we are going to learn about session based authentication. The basic authentication of Laravel. We'll start with the basic authentication. For that I will use facade auth class from facade and call attempt method. The first method takes the credentials and the second method takes the a boolean value to remember the user or not. So I will pass array here, email request email. So this method, if the user is authenticated, if the database credentials exist, so then it will create a new user session and returns a boolean value true. If not, then it will go to else part. I will just print echo here. So soon after authentication, we can be able to fetch the user we have authenticated. So that can be done using auth user method. I will dd this so that you can see the user we have authenticated. Now I will go back to my Chrome browser and refresh the page. So now you can see that the user is authenticated and we have received an instance from a user model. So this is the user who is authenticated. His information will be here. If you want to the user method gives you the instance, and if you just want to access the ID, so you can use this user the ID. Okay, I will disable the verify CSRF middleware. Just go to kernel.php and just scroll down and just comment on this. Refresh. Remember that you have to soon after, this is for testing purpose, that is why I am showing. During production you have to enable this. This is I am doing only for testing purpose. Okay. So now we get the ID. So there is also a short method to get ID, auth ID will also return you the same ID. Okay. So now we know that user is authenticated. The next thing is we have to make sure that we redirect user to specific page after authentication. So for that I will create a dashboard controller, and soon as the user is authenticated, I will take him to that particular page. For that I'll go back to my command prompt, dashboard controller, so I will just return echo here. This is just an example to show you how simple Laravel login works. Now I have to create a route for this. Go to web.php and call get method get dashboard. Here we will use dashboard controller and method is index. The name is dashboard. So I will copy the route, and within the login controller, as soon as the user gets authenticated, I will redirect into this particular dashboard controller. And before doing that, Laravel suggests you to do certain steps, go through certain steps. The first thing is we have to regenerate the session. Okay, so what happens is there will be people will be logging and logging off within the system. So Laravel recommends that you regenerate a new session on every login. So for that we use request session and call regenerate method. So now I will use intent method to redirect user to the page I want intended. Sorry. So the main aim of the intent is that it redirects to a particular location, but it ignores the middleware only at once. So if you are doing login or redirecting user to a specific page after authentication, Laravel recommends you to use this method. Now I will go back to my dashboard controller and see if the user has successfully logged in. Then I have to receive a user instance here also. The same user auth instance you have received here, this instance, user model. So here I will dump here auth user. So now you can see the URL we have in the dashboard page. So then we are able to receive a user instance here, but we have to but if you want to protect a group of routes, then it's better that you use middleware. Laravel provides you a default middleware option, so you can there are many ways to create a middleware. I will show you a simple way. For a specific route, you can create middleware here. Within this array, you can pass auth, and if the user is authenticated, then only he will be able to access this particular URL. I will refresh this again. So now I will create another logout URL. So create a logout method here. So there is a method to logout user from session is to call logout method, and after calling the method, the two additional methods that are to be called as request session invalidate. Okay, so basically this flushes the session data and regenerates the ID, as you can see here what it does. So another thing is we have to regenerate the session. So what regenerate does, let's see. So regenerate basically creates a new session identifier. It destroys the old session and creates a new session. And now after the logout, we will redirect user same to login page. So let's try again. So we are in a dashboard now. So you are in a dashboard. If I click on logout, now again I try to access dashboard. If I do that, then I'm unable to log in because I have already logged out. Now I will log in with some other email. The password will be the same. So yes, I'm able to log in now. I will also, to make you easily understandable, I will give a name here, auth user name. Okay, so name is available here. So now you know the basic example how to use Laravel login authentication for web. So the another thing is that sometimes you have a different requirement for your project. Okay, so here the requirement may change. So the current scenario of the thing is while authenticating user, we authenticate the user in a only one table. So suppose consider if there are multiple tables. In this scenario, if you go to application, I have created a new table that is admin, which has all the username and credentials of administrator, and the other table which has all the credentials of only users. If you by default Laravel uses users table to authenticate, and your current requirement will be that Laravel should also be able to authenticate users from admin table. So to do that, we have to do certain changes in our projects. Laravel provides us guards which are actually used to logically map and retrieve the authenticated user, and also specify the way to authenticate them. So it is a very simple and easy step method. I will show you step by step. The first thing is I have to create a login controller. But I will just copy the user, paste it, and change the name as admin controller, admin model. Sorry. I will also add a table here. Now all the columns of the admin are similar to user controller, so I won't be making any changes to these columns. And it also extends to authenticable, which is it has to. Now to configure the admin model, now configure Laravel to accept and authenticate user from admin model. First thing is you have to go to auth. Here you see the first one, defaults. So by default the guard which is used is web route, the Laravel. And if you scroll at the bottom, within the guard key you can see a web and another API. The web is used for logging authentication over the desktop. This uses session authentication, and this uses API authentication, that is authenticating and retrieving users by token. The driver which it uses is session. So as you can see, it supports two kinds of drivers, session and token based. You can also there is a facility in Laravel in advance where you can customize the driver, but we are not. We are going to look only at the provider side. So within the provider, specify where the data to be actually retrieved. So in this, the default is users table. Now I will create another guard and call it as admin. The driver will be the same, but the provider will be the admin. So now if you scroll at the bottom again, you see the list of to see a provider. The first one is a user provider, and you see this provider, the user provider is mapped to this provider. Now according to this, we have to also create another admin provider. I will name it as admin and keep the driver as eloquent, but I will change the model. I will change the model to admin model and create a class and call it class. So you can see that we have already imported this. That is why I am able to do this. Now what is the second step? I have to do some changes in my login controller. First thing is I will just comment this out and do some experiments here. I will just copy this. If I will copy the authentication and I will assign it to a variable. Now so by default the Laravel uses users controller. So but what happens is we have to also sometimes specify that the Laravel uses a particular guard. So for that we have to add another method here, guard, and specify the guard name. In our case the guard name is admin. So if I dd this and log out, I will take an admin, second one, and submit. You can see that it returns 2. Now I will try to put incorrect password and try again. So now it returns false, which means it is working. I will try to log in again. Okay, we are getting true, which means that it is working. So now after it is authenticated, we have to able to use that particular user, that is use the particular instance. So now I will use auth guard admin and call user. So by doing this, you can see the, if I zoom this, and you can see that app models admin. So now it is using admin models to retrieve the admin information. As you can see that I have taken the second one. So this is how you can use multiple user authentication, but there is still more here. If you see this, consider that you have here, we have only one form which will authenticate users and also admin. We are using the same form. So now we have to specify Laravel. We have to make sure that all the users are retrieved, and there is an issue with this form. I will log in again, and every time I have to use this admin, auth, guard, admin and user. I have to always specify admin. What if I don't specify admin and just call auth user? So you can see that I am receiving null. Why? Because by Laravel we haven't said Laravel, we haven't set the default guard to admin. We know that the default guard is web, but during runtime we have to tell Laravel that we are using default guard admin throughout our application. So to do that, you have to use you have to call a method. That's auth guard. So it's not, there is method that should use, and here you have to add the name of the guard. And now if I refresh this, you can see that the admin model is received. So by using the auth user, you can receive admin model, and also you can receive the users. Now this form only validates the admin but not users. What if I try to log in users? You won't be able to log in. So what I have to do is, the same form should be able to log in user and also admin. So to make sure that our verify method authenticates both the normal user and admin user, so I will first authenticate a normal user. I will create a if condition. I will use auth guard, and I will specify web as the guard and call attempt method over this. I'll pass query. So I'll just copy and paste this. So if this is returns true, then I will set the auth should use, that is web guard, to shoot as to be used as web. And I will first initially I will specify the is authenticated variable as false. Then I will assign it as true. Now the second one is, I will use the admin guard query. Now the should use will change to web from web to admin. So now I will remove this and just try to access the user using auth user method, and also I will try to access the ID. I will go back away again. First I will log in as a user. So you can see that it is logged in as a user model, that is second ID Kunal. Now I go back and switch to admin and use admin authentication. So now also you can see that it is retrieving data from admin model, that is second ID. So our form works. Now I will redirect user to the dashboard controller. So okay, let me go back to the login controller and check the issue. Here it is working fine, but if I go to dashboard, I will just comment the middleware. I'll remove the middleware. So we are getting null. Just give me some time. I will get back to you and see what the issue is. So I'm back with the solution. The issue was, you see here, if I go to login controller, I have already specified the should use admin, but there is a bug here where it doesn't set. It has to set the guard to every request. So because of this, it is unable to do. It is by default it is taking web route, web guard. So what to prevent this issue, I have come up with my own way. Suggest me whether I'm right or wrong. The first thing is I will create a guard auth middleware. I will just use the same thing out from the auth middleware, and here I will change the class name. Now in the I will override the handle method. If you can see here, so handle method is a method which decides whether the request must be handle method calls the authenticated method, and if the user is not authenticated, then it will go for unauthenticated. So I will override this method, and here I will call all the guards. So I will loop over each and every guard and set the session. So here if the guard, the user with this particular guard exists, then I will call this method and set this as a default. Okay. Now I will register this middleware at the bottom. So now back to web route. I will remove auth. Instead of auth, I will use the middleware, guard middleware, and now I will refresh. So the class is not available. Let me check. Okay. So now you can see the in the dashboard controller. If I use auth user, we will get the admin model. I'll comment this. Okay, this. Now I will log out and use user login to login again. So yes, we are able to log using both the admin and user table. If I try to access dashboard without logging in, then I should specify here if check. If user doesn't exist, then so this is how you can use multiple authentication guards uh, with the Laravel. Okay, so now you know that how to use multiple login cards in Laravel. We will also learn about login throttling in Laravel, which enables extra security layer within our Laravel application by limiting the number of access from the user using in a specific URL. For example, if a user is trying to log in and after few attempts, like 2 or 3 attempts, you want to disable user from you want to prevent user from login again for 1 or 2 minutes, then you can do that using login throttling. The first thing we have to go is we have to go to route service provider. So here I will create and I will so here in the configure rate limiting method, create another limiter and name it as login. So you have this login takes a second parameter as closure. The first and it returns a limit class, and here what it actually says is per minute only 60 per minute 60 attempts are allowed. For a demonstration purpose, I will remove this and only add one attempt, which means that only one attempt will be allowed per minute. I will to set this go to here use a middleware and inside this use throttle and give the name of the rate limiter. So now if a user tries to log in more than one time, then it will show you 429, it will throw 429 attempt. That is too many requests. So I will show you now. I will refresh the page and I will do an incorrect login first time. I will refresh again. You can see that there actually I had done two times attempts. One is failed. The second one when I tried, that is why I am getting this error. Instead of getting the error, you can instead of sending this message, you can create a custom message. To do that, go to route service provider. I will comment this. Here, with this, you should also able to return a response. So this is the 429 status code. So now I go back, refresh, login with invalid user and try to submit. Now again I go back and submit. So you can see that I am getting the custom message here, try login after 1 minute. So now if I go and try to login again, this the same error shows. So this will be till here for 1 minute. After 1 minute, it will automatically enable user to login. So you can use it for many security purpose for your application to limit user for multiple logins. So this was all about multi-user login via guards and login throttling in Laravel. If you like my video, then subscribe to my channel. And I have also provided source code link in the description. Kindly go through that. Thank you very much.